Hey guys, Zen here, and welcome back. Crystal Guard is the next season here for Rainbow Six Siege, and to say the meta is changing is a fairly big understatement. Today, we're getting into the most recent buffs to Fuze, Ace, and Zofia that will definitely bring more options to these operators, and there's a topic that I want to address about how a lot of these operators are being handled that has changed dramatically over time. R6 Extraction is always a fun topic here, and they released a brand new trailer that shows that this game might have a lot more depth than we previously thought, and honestly, you might come away feeling differently about it. And Sony just released a brand new PlayStation 5 model, sort of. Let's do this. But first, I want to thank R6 Tracker for sponsoring this video. And guys, this one is a no-brainer. R6 Tracker is an incredibly useful tool if you're looking to monitor your stats or dig deep into your personal performance. In-game, you're able to monitor your MMR and the MMR of the opposing team and see your exact chance of winning. It goes a long way if you're wanting to know exactly who you're up against and if they're a real challenge. You're also able to get each team's stat averages during the match with an overlay. So at a glance, you can compare how everyone is performing. And every day, you'll know the top operators that are being played by the community. And because there's so many new updates and tweaks coming to Siege, this is incredibly valuable information. At any time, you can search up any player that you come across. If you've ever wondered how well your favorite streamer or content creator is playing, just search them up and take a deep dive into their stats. You could learn a thing or two. There's a detailed match history, your personal stats profile, and it's just packed with all the useful information to improve. And so guys, click the top link in the description to download R6 Tracker today and get started for free. With that, let's get into this. So let's start with that topic that I mentioned in the intro of this video, operator balance. It's always had a lot of moving parts, and there's so many ways that it's been approached over the years, but in year 6, there's been one balance that's been attacked over and over again, and is no different here in season 3, and that's weapon recoil. Now, of course, recoil has always been tweaked. I mean, look back at year 2 Ella, and how devastating the Scorpion was at launch compared to when they finally gave it the axe. It's night and day. But it took like a year for them to finally get to that weapon, and around that time, there weren't ever too many weapons getting new recoil patterns. Here in year 6, though, is an entirely different story, because for the past few seasons, there's been a big recoil nerf to specific guns over and over again, with the latest being to Zofia. Now that the overall power of gadgets has been dialed back, and people are relying a bit more on pure gun skill, the focus for balance has been to those guns that have been all-stars, and a lot of operators are feeling it. Fuze, for example, is getting his biggest buff to date in Crystal Guard, and I think there's more reason than ever to give him a shot, but the AK-12 has recently received a pretty substantial recoil nerf, and so you might not feel as confident there. All to say that there is a clear focus on the pure lethality of these weapons, and I know a lot of people haven't been jumping for joy over more recoil nerfs, but Ubisoft gets it to a certain extent, because both the AK-12 and Zofia's M762 will be getting buffed recoil for Crystal Guard. Zofia got smacked. Like, in my opinion, that nerf to the recoil changed the game for her, and so getting some of that control back, I think will go a long way. But really, it's Fuze that I want to benefit most from this, because we've been overdue for a proper Fuze meta, and now that he's exactly where he needs to be, this could be it. I just think it's interesting though, that we've gone in this direction of changing the meta via what seems so simple as recoil patterns, and a few years ago, this just wasn't how things were done. Ops would lose gadget counts or trade frags for a breach charge, but the devs have tightened up and gone for the meta within the meta of smooth weapons like the 416, the M762, and the legendary R4C. Now, in the last video, we talked about the new flash mechanics, where no matter the situation, you will be flashed. If an attacker throws a flashbang, throws a candela, or blitz comes barreling in, you will always be flashed in full. Your entire screen always turns white, and the only other factor is the duration of the flash. So if a grenade lands directly under your feet, you'll be flashed longer than if it's just thrown in your direction. At first, it was received well. I think a lot of people found flashes more useful. But over time, more and more concerns started to rise up, and Ubisoft finally responded to the feedback and have changed the way you're flashed again. So now, depending on your orientation, or in other words, if you look away, it'll have an impact on how long you're affected. To be clear, I believe you will still be fully flashed, but again, if you look away, it'll be significantly reduced. I don't know. This one has always been touchy for me. It is incredibly strong, but it does give flashes, and the operators who specialize in it a running chance to be great picks. Of course, we could all use more blitz in our life. Next up is R6 Extraction, and look, I know this isn't everyone's favorite topic, but this new trailer they released made me a believer, and a lot of people had a change of heart, so we've got to break it down. The problem with Extraction, like at its core, was that it lacked substance. Gamers across the board need to feel the games they are playing, and they need to pull you into their systems and give reasons reason to log in. Honestly, it's games that lack substance that tend to die down. It's that same substance that keeps us all coming back to Rainbow Six Siege, even with its shortcomings, because you feel the depth of the game each and every round. So what has Extraction done then? Get on with it. Well, I think they have finally shown off exactly what makes this game a co-op and PvE experience, and that feels strange to say, but I think they came out swinging too hard in this is the PvE Rainbow Six Siege game. I'll explain. The maps. In Rainbow Six Siege, they are core. They're literally half of the experience, but in a co-op setting, you need bigger and more interesting versions, and so we now know that all 12 maps will be 3 times or more the size of a typical Siege map. On top of that, they're ever evolving, meaning no 2 times you enter a map will it play out the same. Now, as you guys know, I was able to go hands-on with the game, and one thing that I noticed, that even for my demo, the secondary gadgets were all the exact same as Rainbow Six Siege. We got to use body armor, so Rook, there were drones, flashbangs, all stuff from Siege. But this trailer shows off a bunch of new gadgets that look perfect for the co-op setting and interesting in their own right. There's 25 in total, and they start off with the field wall. It'll block incoming projectiles from the Archeans and is best used when you're overwhelmed by a horde of enemies. There's also the glue grenade that will slow down the movements of enemies and give you time to regroup. And finally, the react laser attaches to your weapon and makes it easy to deal with the sprawl or the black muck that slows you down. These are the kinds of gadgets that make a PvE experience engaging, and I really like that we're finally getting a taste of some of those extra goodies here. But without a doubt, what stood out to me most were the reveal of the Proteans. Just like the recent containment event in Siege, they're Archeans that take on the powers of our operators with some powerful new buffs. It was only a brief look, but they seem destructive, and if this is an example of endgame, it could be worth it. Finally, they talk about the deep progression system, which is a staple of any PvE game, and you're able to upgrade each of your operators, obtain new abilities and gadgets, and customize it how you like. For me, this should have been like step 1 for Extraction, showing off all this stuff and getting a better understanding on the PvE elements because, well, it is PvE to its core. But I am curious, does this stuff change anything for you about Rainbow Six Extraction? I know for me, I've always been looking forward to this one, but now it's definitely got more of my attention, and this trailer in particular has been received better than anything else the game has come out with. 2 words. Well done. To wrap this one up, a bit of a quirky story, but it's been about 10 months since its release, and Sony have already introduced a new PS5 model into the wild. There are 2 changes. Apparently, it's about 0.5 pounds lighter than the previous one, and instead of a traditional screw for the stand, there's now a thumb screw, so you don't need a screwdriver, and you can adjust it with, well, your thumb. They've been spotted in some regions in Europe and Australia, and you'll know you've got one if it comes with the CFI 1102A model number. Beyond that, it is the same exact PS5 you know and love, and hopefully you'll be able to get your hands on one as these start to roll out. Now, before we close out, we've got an incredible fall this year for gaming, and there are some titles coming out that I think we're all going to be trying out after a long road with Rainbow Six Siege. I cannot wait to bring you guys some fresh new content to the channel, and there are some exciting things just over the horizon here, and it's gonna be epic. So guys, yeah, that's the end of our video. Be sure to leave a thumbs up and get subscribed for heaps more content coming soon. With that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hey, I'm out.